My name's Dave DeBoe, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminski, filling in for Dave Dubois. And have you ever wondered how a couple from the heart of Winnipeg turned their passion for real estate into a flourishing business, overcoming obstacles with every step? Today, my guests, Mark and Mackenzie from Winnipeg, they're here to unveil their secrets behind their incredible journey in the world of real estate. Mark, Mackenzie, welcome to the show. Great to have you here.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, so tell the people at home a little bit about how you guys got started in this business. What spawned the idea?
What spawned the idea for me is probably a lot of other people. I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it got me hooked, and I got interested and wanted to learn more.
Like, how many years ago would that have been?
Probably 15 years ago, 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
So you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then when did you actually like start taking that and putting that into action?
I took some Rich Dad courses, and then I started constantly looking for real estate deals and moving forward. And then there's some other programs and stuff too, where in Winnipeg, some other coaching programs that helped me push past that envelope and excel and just fight the fear and just get in there and go do it.
Have you guys always been like together doing this thing?
Mark kind of started with the interest in real estate when he was, I'd say, probably a teenager, and, sparked the interest of, I don't necessarily want to work a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, typical job, or doing construction for his whole life. And so when he brought the idea up to me, he was kind of originally thinking of doing it on his own or with somebody else. And that idea kind of fell through. So he kind of just dropped this idea on my lap a little bit of, hey, I'm looking to take the very first course that kind of jump-started our career was with Stefan Arnio and Black Card. And Mark wanted to sign up to really get into real estate investing, which was about 4 years ago now. And so he asked me to come along on the journey. And that's pretty much when we got into real estate. We bought our first property only a couple months after signing up for that course. And so, yeah, Mark's been dabbling in it for a few years, but in terms of actively buying real estate, we've always done it together.
Yeah.
Nice. So along the way, like getting started, what were some obstacles? Like you had the Rich Dad stuff and then you moved to the other one. What do you think was like the moment where you're like, okay, I got to do something? Because sometimes people take like that Rich Dad class was probably a decade ago, 2015 or something.
Yeah,
like
it was, yeah, definitely quite a few years ago is when I took that. I think the biggest derivative is a lot of the books I read too, they said you need to find your why. And part of my why is I saw my grandparents, they immigrated to Canada, they worked 2 full-time jobs, busted their butt, retired at late 60s, early 70s, were able to do some of the traveling they wanted to do, but didn't have the funds to do. I believe they didn't have the funds to do everything they wanted to do. And I don't know what the point of working 90% of your life is to enjoy 10%.
Yeah. So then eventually you're like, okay, I gotta do this real estate thing.
Yeah.
For real. So tell me any sort of obstacles between then that first property and where we are today.
One of the obstacles we had is the first property we bought is our ARV wasn't exactly where we should have been, which is after repair value. And we managed to had a contractor do the job, and the job should have really taken 1 month or two, and it took about 6. It was a smaller rental. You got to learn how to manage your contractors, and we also financed the first deal on our own. And I had 2 mortgages I was paying, which is a big chunk of our paycheck. So when a project's not going the way you want it to be, it's a big stress point. And then we started getting private investors in, which freed up more of my time to look for more deals and raise more capital.
So with that first project, what was the outcome? What did you end up doing with the project? Even though it ran long, what was the outcome?
We listed that project just before Christmas, which is one of the worst times to list a house in Winnipeg, is what most agents and the stagers said. We listed it. We got one offer that was below. The agent we had was able to get the person to bring their price up, and we held it for about 9 months. And after the 9 months, we made $1,000, but we learned a ton during that 9 month process.
$1,000 learning lesson. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, I was talking to a guy on the weekend, and he's like, "Yeah, sometimes businesses don't make it, but they can be some of the cheapest learning lessons when you look at it, how much it costs to learn stuff, and how much you learn from maybe not getting what you thought you were going to get when you get into the real estate game." So since then, um, what have you guys been up to?
So since that first project, even though we only made $1,000, we really appreciated that it kind of was like our starting point. It really pushed us to get into real estate. Like if we hadn't bought that first house and financed it on our own, even though we see those things as maybe what we shouldn't have done, who knows how long it would have taken to buy that first house. So since then, we bought our second flip even right before that first one sold, and it went so much better. Like we got a new contractor, timelines were fantastic. We took a rundown little house and flipped it and sold it within like 3 days on market. And it's just down the street from us. We drive by it all the time actually and just take a peek at it. So um and then we bought our very first wholesale deal off a wholesaler and got into our strategy that we do mostly now, which is the BRRRR strategy. And so buy, reno, refinance, and rent. And we've done that a few times over, done a couple of flips. And in the last 3 years, I think we bought our first rental in April of 2021. We have 11 rentals now.
Wow, good for you guys. So you find that the BRRRR strategy is more in line with your lifestyle and your long-term goals. Like making money in flips is great, but why the BRRRR method? What's got you guys leaning into that lately?
I like the mailbox money. I also know that when times get hard, people want to sell, and that's generally a good time to buy and hold rentals right now. With the immigration policy that's coming into Canada, rental prices are going up. The first rental in the neighborhood we had that we bought 3 years ago, we're renting at 1,400, and similar houses now are going for 1,560.
Yeah, so the rents are definitely going up here
Yeah.
in Winnipeg. So, um, a lot of times you've been in the business now for a while, and by this point, typically people are starting to find their stride. And there's a thing in one, I can't remember which book it is, but Robert Kiyosaki talks about the unfair advantage. What comes easy to you guys that other people might find difficult to do?
One of the things that we kind of enjoy doing that a lot of other people might not enjoy as much as we've really found our stride in being a landlord and finding tenants, and we want to connect with people that we can give a hand up to, not necessarily a hand out, but we want to be able to help the people that maybe they've struggled a little bit in their life and they just need someone who's willing to give them a break, and they'll bust their butt if you do give them that break. If they're a little bit late on rent, instead of evicting them, have a conversation with them. And obviously there's some tenants out there that are difficult.
Mhm.
But that's the other piece that we've kind of pushed the BRRRR strategy a little bit more, is that we enjoy getting to know our tenants and making that connection and learning about their lives and how we can help them out as landlords. And with everything that's going on right now, we found that the BRRRR strategy does give us a little bit more freedom, and it's kind of worked out well for us. We still do a few flips, and we are always looking for more flips and looking to take on more projects. But the BRRRR is kind of where we've landed in the last couple of years.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, not too many people want the responsibilities of being a landlord. They want to own the property, they want the mailbox money, then they put a management company in place. So you guys doing all of your own management then?
Yes, we're doing our own management as of right now. We're also planning on getting into more multifamilies in the future and bigger projects, and then we'll probably end up passing it over to a property manager when we find one that we like.
So when looking at, how far you come in the business here, what does the future look like?
Well, as some of my mentors always said, they said decide how many doors you want and then add a few zeros at the end because you haven't hit your stride yet. So, we want to double our portfolio is kind of what our plan is in the next year or so. So we're looking at multifamilies, duplexes, and we have some properties too that if in Winnipeg the new fourplex rule comes in, which I've heard they're talking about, we have some properties we might tear down and build fourplexes on as well.
Yeah, I mean, really, the densification. Definitely seeing if, Edmonton's been doing that for like almost 10 years. So it's about
Yeah.
time that Winnipeg does something along those lines. So, um, with the multifamily game, there's a lot of funding that comes along with it. What are you guys doing to fund these larger projects?
We have some private investors. We have about $900,000 in private capital. We have a few other private investors who are on the hook and they're interested. They're just a little nervous, so it takes a little more work to get them to feel more comfortable. But we offer generally a better return than some of the stock markets, and it's more of a guaranteed. In my understanding and belief is that if the banks are doing it, then there's probably a safe investment for someone else to do too.
The bank's lending on property, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We we're looking to make connections and just get the word out there that what we're doing and what we do differently than other investors, and what our goals are and what our long-term goals are as well too. And we've worked with some new investors recently and some long-term investors who have been with us pretty much right since the beginning, and just always striving to make them a good return on their money and be open and honest with them and just straightforward with what we're doing and where we want to go.
So what do you think keeps their existing connections funding these deals? What is it that relationship, or what have you done in that relationship that has them coming back and funding over all these years?
I believe it's open dialogue we have. We've had some projects where they went a little bit longer, but before the contract comes due, I've talked to the investor and says, I have an option where I can buy you out and pay you out what you're owed, or I can run you over and it's going to run a few months longer, but your money's still secured, and show to them how they're safe in the deal. And most of them say, just keep my money because I'm making a good rate return. I don't really want it back.
Yeah, they definitely like it when we pay them their interest.
Mhm. Well, and I like what you said about being proactive, like approaching them before the term comes due, whereas a lot of times investors are like waiting for them to reach out, like, where's my
Yeah.
money?
Yeah.
And that's a bad position to be in. You want to be on the other side of that, like, hey,
Yeah.
I know it's coming up, and getting ahead of the thing before it becomes a conversation like, where's my money? So what are you guys doing to expand your network of prospective investors these days?
Uh,
Go ahead.
Networking, talking to some other close knit family and friends and stuff, letting them know what we're doing, which they're starting to figure it out.
Mhm.
Showing that the returns are happening. Us picking rentals up too, and how we've grown in the last few years, I think also shows that obviously we know what we're doing and we're moving forward in the right direction, which I think makes opens the door and a lot more people are interested to know what we're doing.
Yeah, we've been trying to get more on social media and posting about what we're doing. I find that sometimes we're too behind the scenes and actively doing it and forget, to take the picture and post it on social media
Mhm.
and talk about what we're doing. So we need to post more, and we're working on getting our website up and running and posting more on our business pages as well too, to really drive people towards our business and learn about what we're doing with real estate.
Nice. So, um, when you're talking about current investors, what have you found to be most effective to keep in touch with both the people that are looking to invest, but also the ones who are already invested?
We
So how
found
do
a
you
lot of
stay on top of that? Yeah.
Yeah, we found a lot of success through social media. When we first started, it was fun and exciting, and lots of our family and friends were really interested in what we were doing, and we found that was the way to get the word out that that's what we were doing. And in the last couple of years, we've taken on a lot of new followers and new friends on Facebook. So keeping them updated is really important. And just reaching out to them and just having those conversations with friends and family when you get to see them, or the networks when you're going out to real estate networking events and things like that is really important to us too.
Yeah, like staying. So the other side of the question is for the people who are already invested, how do you keep them up to date with the projects? What's the dialogue like as far as, I put 100 grand in your deal. What's going on?
We some of the investors or whatever, they send me a text once in a while and they go, "Hey, how's the project going? It's good." I'll send some pictures with some of them. Some investors don't really want to be involved in what's happening with the project. They're very much, "Here's my money. When my term comes to close, let me know." And some investors, every time I talk to them or bump into them, they're like, "Hey, how's the project going? What's it looking like?" And that's why I generally take a lot of pictures of a project. So if someone asks, I always have something to show that we're in forward motion and
Hmm.
the project's going well.
And we talk to our investors too to find out, yeah, do you want to be involved in the project? Do you want to know like what's going on? And then we can provide them with as much update as they want. Or yeah, if an investor is just like, hey, call me when the project's done and you're gonna pay out my money, but keep it as long as you need. Then it kind of depends on the investor as well too.
So like finding out how they want to be communicated with and then just fulfilling that.
Yeah.
Cool. So do you guys find the deal and then the money, or do you prefer to have your capital lined up and then go looking for deals?
We've actually done both. We've done it both ways. I've agreed to close on properties when I didn't have all the funds for them. It's a little more stressful that way. You better
Mhm.
feel comfortable with your investor network and have some people, but until you really have a signed agreement for lending, they can always change their mind. So I suggest if you're not very confident in your investors, make sure you have signed agreement before you decide to remove your conditions on a deal. Because otherwise, when it comes to the end of the table, it gets very stressful trying to raise funds last minute.
Yeah, as the clock ticks on to the deal. So when you do get the deal and you're dealing with your possible investors, how do you go about presenting? What does that kind of look like? Walk me through your presentation or your approach to actually raising capital from these people.
I generally with some of the projects we have an appraisal that goes through beforehand, so it's appraised, and we always try to buy between 40 to 60 cents on the dollar. That way it gives us some breathing room for renovations. And then we present and show them the security in the project and say we're buying it already at a discounted price, and then show with a renovation where the property will be worth and what ones are selling for in that neighborhood. And then sometimes we'll pull the comparables and we'll show them comparables of this is what we're trying to duplicate and this is what the house sold for, to show them that there's a lot of security in the asset.
And we want to show them a little bit of like past, present, and future too. Like if they are, we can show them what we have done so they can see our track record and how we want to make sure that, they're our first priority. We want to pay them back their money. We aren't getting into a deal that we might potentially run into some issues without being able to pay them back. And we want to show them if we have a deal on the table, we can bring those details to the meeting and present that to them as well. Or if they're interested, we can tell them what we want to look for in the future. Maybe right now we are taking on some flips or some burrs, but we'd like to get into some multifamily too. So we can present that to them as well too to give them the full picture.
Nice. So um, when people invest significant amount of capital with you guys, they typically need to like know and trust you. What sort of things are you doing with your social to kind of build that relationship?
You mean like to our socials to build the relationship to get to
Yeah,
know
to
us
let
better?
people know, yeah, to let them get to know you and like you and ultimately trust you. And I mean, whether it's through social, whether it's through networking, what have you found to be most successful?
It's definitely good to be like open and honest with people. We don't necessarily want to just show, this is the wins, this is the good stuff. We do want to show, the grinding at a rental house at 9, 10 midnight to get it ready for the tenant the next day, or helping a tenant out with, maybe an issue that they had or something like that. We want to show the full picture in our social media. And even when we're communicating with people or meeting people and networking with them too, we like to discuss challenges, but also successes as well too, and what we're currently working on.
Nice.
I think a lot of it revolves back to that open communication and just being upfront with how things are going and getting in front of a problem before it becomes a problem.
And so that seems to be like the running mantra of the company is like get ahead of it before it gets ahead of
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So in the multifamily game, um, are you looking just in Winnipeg? Are you looking elsewhere? What does that look like? And what sort of capital do you have in mind as far as what you're looking number wise that you'd need to get into that next project?
We're looking primarily in Winnipeg. We're also looking outside in Manitoba. We've looked at some stuff in Edmonton because they don't have the same rent control rules as Winnipeg. So some of the properties cash flow better out there and you have more, it's more landlord friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's a portion of where we're also looking. We're basically looking, if the numbers make sense, we're interested.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So if people want to get a hold of you guys and want to find out more, what do they do? How do they find you?
We, like I mentioned before, we're working on pushing up our social media, but we are on Facebook and Instagram. Our company name is Sky Castle Developments, and you can reach out to us either on Facebook through that or at Sky Castle Developments on Instagram.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you guys stopping by, letting people know kind of what your journeys look like, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thanks very
Awesome.
much.
Thanks, Bryce.
No problem. Until next time, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode.
Catch you guys later.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.